Good morning. Welcome to the Sunday morning worship service of DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church in Naperville, Illinois. I am Kelly Trombley Freitag, a member of your Board of Trustees. We are so glad you are here, whether you are present in the sanctuary this morning or watching remotely. It is so good to be together. We welcome you to our church and invite you to get to know us better after the service. As Unitarian Universalists, we hold that there are many paths to truth and meaning, and we support one another on our spiritual and religious journeys while holding ourselves in covenant through our shared 7 principles. The mission of DuPage UU Church is to gather as an inclusive community, to grow in character, mind, and spirit, and to transform the world towards fairness, love, and compassion. Whoever you are, wherever you are on life's journey, wherever you are in the world, you are welcome here. Announcement today: if anyone is interested in being a greeter or an usher, please see our new membership coordinator, Tina Lewis, after the service in Creeves Hall. We will need more ushers and greeters in anticipation of going to 2 services this fall. If you are not here in person, please contact Tina. And now, if you are online, we invite you to greet each other through the chat. And if you are present here, I invite you to turn to someone you did not come with them and greet them.
We light this chalice this morning to honor the direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder, affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the Spirit.
When birds create a call, they project their breath from their lungs through their syrinx to reach out to other birds. It's a natural act, but it's also a social act. Humans also use their breath, but projected through their larynx to reach others as well. Again, a social act. Our breaths bring us together. As we come together this morning, listening to words, breathing together through song, know that inspiration is available to all who are present and connected to their own humanity and to the humanity of others. Let the Spirit of life come unto each of us as I call upon us to worship together this morning. Please rise as you are willing and able to join in singing hymn number 123, Spirit of Life.
Please join me in saying our covenant. You can remain seated. We come together to affirm our relationship with one another, our shared commitment to our Unitarian Universalist principles, and to our DuPage UU Church community. We recognize our agency and our connective power, and we accept our responsibility to be bold and courageous in relationship with each other so that we might transform ourselves and the world. Good morning. I'm Caroline Bailey, a member of this congregation. Our vision of beloved community is rooted in the relationships we have with each other, our world, and creation. Each week, we share our joys and concerns. Pat Clancy announces the birth of her fourth great-grandchild. July 7th, 2023, Owen Thomas Knobloch. Owen was diagnosed at birth with Down syndrome and was kept in the NICU for 2 weeks. But he is home now with his parents and his proud big sister, Nora. Please check out our north lot. Many thanks to a whole group of volunteers who helped with the cleanup of the overgrown growth. Carl Nash, Cindy Wunderlich, Kathy Neff, Jane Gano, Joe Gano, Christopher Gano, and Christopher's friend Tony. And lastly, today's flowers behind me are given by Carol Manthy's husband, Russ, to begin a week-long celebration of her 74th birthday. Even when the cares of the world weigh on us, may we find joy in our connections with each other and in the pleasures that life holds. Let us care for one another and for ourselves in all the ways that we can. As we hold each other in our hearts and minds with all our joys and all our sorrows, whether spoken or unspoken, please join together in a moment of meditative prayer.
Let us focus inward for a moment. How did we, all of humanity, become so very, very lucky that the infinite expanse of space, time, energy, and matter created a planet whose conditions were welcoming to the creation of life? How did we become so lucky that the evolution of life forms brought us to this point, where humans can come together to create friendships, to create family, community, church community, towns, great cities, and great art? How did we become so lucky that we can experience something called happiness, love, or even contemplate meaning? How did we become so lucky? So let us give thanks, but let us also work hard to preserve the gift of our fragile planet. And let us also work hard for fairness so that all can feel valued, loved, and grateful too. In spite of the uncanny resemblance, I am not Steve Cooper. He is away on holiday this weekend. We wish him well. But it is our time to gather. The story today is Seeking an Aurora by Elizabeth Pulford and Anne Bannock. Late into the night, Dad nudged me awake. "Come on," he said. He pulled on my jacket, woolly hat, and mittens. "We're off to find an aurora," he said. "What's an aurora?" "Shh," said Dad, as we tiptoed past Mom and my new baby sister. Outside, everything was still. Even the dogs were quiet, and the cows looked like prehistoric creatures, their noses steaming smoke. "Is it scary?" Dad shook his head. As we trudged away, I looked back at our house, back at the warm, buttery light spilling from the kitchen window and our footprints in the silvery frost. As we climbed Bracken's Hill, my breath huffed little ghosts, while above sailed the sky, a ship of shivering stars. "Dad, are stars in the aurora?" "No." Up and up we climbed, the moon glinting between the trees like a curved splinter of glass. "Is the moon in the aurora?" "No," he said. When we reached the top of the steep hill, We couldn't even see our house or the dogs and cows. Now we could only see the sky, the stars, and the moon. Dad sat on the stony ground with me real close to him. What's it like? Look, he said. My eyes popped as wide wings of light flew over the sky, dancing, glowing, and glimmering, shimmering and shining, colored ribbons swirling and twirling, lighting up the sky on the dark, still night. Dad and I said nothing at all. When we walked back home, Dad talked and talked. He told me everything he knew about the aurora. Amazing, I breathed, back in the buttery kitchen and tucked at the table, cozy in the sleepy silence. It was, wasn't it? Said Dad. And now, let us sing to the children as they leave for class.
The giving of our treasure is how we reciprocate the many gifts we are given by this community. Your contribution supports the programs and operations of DuPage UU Church. Giving is also how we live our values in the world. Each month, we share our offerings with an organization which is nominated by the congregation and selected by our special offerings team. During June, our special collection will benefit the Unitarian Universalist Prison Ministry of Illinois, also known as UUPMI, which was nominated by Robert Scrocchi. UUPMI fosters connections between UU congregations and people incarcerated in Illinois prisons. This group offers liberal religious ministry inside prisons to those individuals who may find themselves in one of the hardest times of their lives. This ministry is carried out through in-prison worship services, covenant groups, pen pal groups, and other programs. UUPMI's work affirms the inherent worth and dignity of these individuals, as well as fostering their own free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Additionally, UUPMI advocates for policy changes that seek to improve the quality of life for those incarcerated both during and after their time in prison. The offering is given and received in a spirit of generosity and gratitude. Thank you, Vera. Today's reading is an excerpt from an opinion piece in the New York Times called "The Power of Art in a Political Age" by David Brooks. I sometimes feel that I'm in a daily struggle not to become a shallower version of myself. The first driver of shallowization is technology, the way it shrinks attention span, fills the day with tempting distractions. The second driver is the politicization of everything. Like a lot of people, I spend too much of my time enmeshed in politics. The predictable partisan outrages, the campaign horse race analysis, the Trump scandal du jour. So I'm trying to take countermeasures. I flee to the arts. I'm looking for those experiences we all had as a kid, becoming so enveloped by an adventure story that you refuse to put it down to go have dinner, getting so exuberantly swept up in some piece of music that you feel primeval passions thumping within you, encountering a painting so beautiful it feels like you've walked right into its alternative world. The normal thing to say about such experiences is that you've lost yourself in a book or a song, lost track of space and time. But it's more accurate to say that a piece of art has quieted the self-conscious ego voice that is normally yapping away within. A piece of art has served as a portal to a deeper realm of the mind. It has opened up that hidden, semi-conscious kingdom within us from which emotions emerge, where our moral sentiments are found. Those instant, aesthetic-like reactions that cause us to feel disgust in the presence of cruelty and admiration in the presence of generosity. Artists generally don't set out to improve other people. They just want to create a perfect expression of their experience. But their art has the potential to humanize the beholder. How does it do this? First, beauty impels us to pay a certain kind of attention. It startles you and prompts you to cast off the self-centered tendencies to always be imposing your opinions on things. It prompts you to stop in your tracks, take a breath, and open yourself up so that you can receive what it is offering, often with a kind of childlike awe and reverence. It trains you to see the world in a more patient, just, and humble way. In The Sovereignty of Good, the novelist and philosopher Iris Murdoch writes, quote, "Virtue is the attempt to pierce the veil of selfish consciousness and join the world as it really is." Second, artworks widen your emotional repertoire. When you read a poem or see a piece of sculpture, you haven't learned a new fact, but you've had a new experience. The British philosopher Roger Scruton wrote, quote, The listener to Mozart's Jupiter Symphony is presented with the open floodgates of human joy and creativity. The reader of Marcel Proust is led through the enchanted world of childhood and made to understand the uncanny prophecy of our later griefs through those days of joy. These experiences furnish us with a kind of emotional knowledge, how to feel and how to express feelings, how to sympathize with someone who is grieving, how to share the satisfaction of a parent who has seen her child grow. Third, art teaches you to see the world through the eyes of another, often a person who sees more deeply than you do. Sure, Picasso's Guernica is a political piece of art about an atrocity in the Spanish Civil War, but it doesn't represent documentary-like an exact scene in that war. It goes deeper to give us an experience of pure horror, the universal experience of suffering, and the reality of human bloodlust that leads to it. I haul myself off to museums and such with the fear that in a political and technological age, the arts have become less central to public life, that we don't seem to debate novels and artistic breakthroughs the way people did in other times, that the artistic and literary worlds have themselves become stultified by insular groupthink, and this has contributed to the dehumanization of American culture. But we can still stage our mini rebellions, kick our political addictions from time to time, and enjoy the free play of mind, the undogmatic spirit, and the heightened and adrenalized states of awareness that the best art still provides. Earlier this year, I visited the Edward Hopper Show at the Whitney Museum a couple of times, and I got to see New York through that man's eyes. The spare rooms on side streets, and the isolated people inside. I forget most of what I read, but those images stay vivid in the mind.
Good morning. My name is Mary Coleman, and thank you, Caroline, for a beautiful reading and a nice lead-in to this meditation, where I'm going to invite you to just be here, be present, and set aside, at least for 6 or 7 minutes, all self-judgment about this or any other self-reflection or meditation you may have done in the past. Just to be here with yourself, honoring this wonderful gift of breath that we have been given. So I invite you to settle into presence. That means just being here as you are, suggesting that maybe you put your feet flat on the floor, if that's comfortable for you, because that enables the breath to flow more freely through your entire body. And releasing any clenching that you may be doing with feet, toes, hands, body. Closing your eyes or casting them down to let go of all outside interferences. Settling into presence, shifting your position to be as comfortable as you can be right now. And just aware of the body sitting here, breathing. In the story that was just read, the noticing of the breath. I was reminded of how we always notice our breath when it's a cold day and we see it. Most of the time, it's just taken for granted, this life-giving source that is within all of us forever till we die. So just becoming more aware of the body breathing, taking in a few deeper breaths, allowing yourself to breathe in long, slow, and deep. And then exhaling in the same manner, slowly, longer, and deeper than average. And as you do so with the second and the third breaths, just being present to where you are feeling that breath, where you may be feeling it more strongly, where it is pleasant. Getting familiar, just familiar with your own body breathing. Continue letting a few more deeper breaths, inhaling slowly and exhaling slowly. Letting go of any judgments, of any distractions that may come in. That's what happens. Just gently bringing yourself back to the breathing. So now I invite you to discontinue any controlling of the breath and let your breath breathe itself totally, naturally, allowing this wonderful tool we have to grow into a more relaxed attentiveness. For as we continue breathing and being more mindful of the breathing on its own, the body just naturally begins to let go and relax. Noticing as you focus with more awareness on your body breathing, you become aware of where it feels the most comfortable, of where you may want to send it to relax further. Resting with your breath, letting go. Sensing the possibility of relaxing with the movement of the breath. Noticing that you can begin with any moment. When the mind wanders, it's just a fresh beginning, normal, natural, welcoming the ability to begin again. Collecting that attentiveness and relaxing again in the breath. As you become more familiar and more aware of this breathing body, It naturally happens in time to become more and more aware of how our breath within us reacts to outside stimulation, circumstances, to just about everything that goes on. The inner awareness trains us to be more connected to the outer awareness. Can you sense a calmness in breathing right here, right now, breath by breath, relaxing, resting in presence? So as we're drawing to a close with this meditation, I invite you to gently feel the breath and the gentle presence of the breath, possibly in the region of the heart. And in doing so, to thank yourself for the important gift of calm, presence, and caring, and remembering that this is always available to you. Thank you.
Have you ever had something just take your breath away? Maybe it was something just so beautiful, so inspiring that your body could not help but pull in a deep breath. Or maybe a gasp, or a maybe it was gazing at a star-filled sky in a clear night, or seeing a beautiful mountaintop kissed by the sun. Maybe it was that moving Chopin prelude that Vera played. Maybe it was just the feeling of being in love. You just felt it. One such experience that I had occurred while on a camping trip in Quetico Provincial Park in Canada when I was with a group of friends at age 14. One night, tired and satisfied after a day of canoeing and portaging several miles, we were sitting on rocks next to a lake around a campfire. You know, I've always thought that there is just something eternal, it's almost primal about sitting around a campfire and just staring. And we talked, not about the superficial stuff, but real stuff. And then it happened. A large glow appeared in the sky above the lake. It became a curtain. Then it filled the sky, and it changed its shape, brighter, then dimmer, and shifting its radiance. It was green, and then it shifted colors. Our mouths dropped. If you could have heard us back then, you would have heard predictable teen utterings like, "Whoa, dude! Did you see that? Whoa, far out, man. Now it's rotating. Cool." I ought to be 14. But I was in awe, and we were in awe, and I felt so connected to the universe, to my friends, to myself. Like the boy in the story from earlier, I found the whole experience amazing. I would describe this intoxicating moment as spiritual. Perhaps not in the common parlance of the term, but more in the poetry of it, based on my take of its etymology. I think of it this way: where does the term spirituality or spirit come from? Some of you might know that the Latin translation of spiritus is simply to breathe. And think of the many offshoots of this term. Inspire, to breathe in. Respire or expire, to breathe out. Transpire, to breathe through. All some form of the body's most basic life-giving function. Breathing, sometimes responding as nature intended when encountering something of surprise, joy, amazement, but also fear, sadness, and pain. Think of how children respond to things so humanly and transparently with contagious laughter or the deepest and loudest of bellows when they're hurt or sad. Through their breathing, they are living and expressing the meaning of the moment. And isn't it kind of sad that as we grow older, we often lose that ability to be in the moment that way, to breathe that deeply into the experience the way that kids do? It helps to be around kids, by the way, to help us with that. But I don't actually think all is lost, as I believe we can reclaim some of that without discarding our rational minds, as we can climb into the interplay between experience and our values and ideas. Put another way, we can experience, but we can also make sense of our experience, and even a connection to something larger than ourselves. Many look to religion for such a connection, or maybe the experience of feeling connected through religious practices. And they might find comfort in objectifying this type of experience as a relationship with a personal God. I recall, for example, that when I was a young boy and on a family vacation to the YMCA of the Rockies in Estes Park, my dad, sitting on the front porch of the cabin, staring in the mountains around us, said, "This is so beautiful, it had to have been made by God." For those that are naturalistic in their beliefs, they may simply marvel at the sight of these mountains and feel gratitude that our universe created this incredible planet. What both of these people share is their sense of awe. Now, I found a way to bridge these two types of meanings in a way that aligns with my own constructed view of spirituality. As you know, the term for God from Hebrew scriptures is Yahweh, which is presented in ancient Hebrew scroll as YHWH with no vowels. Now, it's true that ancient Hebrew writings did not use vowels, and they're assumed, but as expressed, God is Yahweh, Yahweh, the very sound of breathing. From this frame, one might say God is breath, or life's breath in you, or life's spirit in you, or as we sing it here, spirit of life. As illustrated in my personal story, I sense the spirit when I feel most connected to either our natural world or the humanity of others. And by humanity, I mean the genuine, unscripted, unedited, unvarnished humanness of others. Interestingly, for me, it could be the humanity of people I've never met, such as through art or music. For me, it could be listening to a recording of Coltrane's sax on my stereo, or Brahms' Fourth Symphony in a hall, or a tenor singing a Lucevan La Stella at the Lyric. Have any of you been in a concert hall and immediately following a moving piece or aria heard audible gasps? You know, when an opera singer studies with a master, the teacher is not teaching technique. The singers have mastered technique by that point. The teacher is teaching how to capture the essence or the spirit of the line or the phrase or the story, and to be a vessel to express this humanity to others. Touched, a gasping audience is inspired. So I'd ask, what touches you this way? What inspires you? An intense experience? The first time you saw your kids or grandkids? Places, nature, art, people, love. What connects you to yourself and others? As you ponder these things, you might consider how to place yourself there intentionally. But I'd also say that you needn't go hunting for your passport and purchase plane tickets to find Shangri-La. Nor do I need to go to the northern woods in search of another Aurora Borealis. You and I may actually not have to look very far. What if instead we pay attention to things right in front of us? Really pay attention. And notice how this moves us, how it breathes something into us and our bodies. Doing so, as David Brooks suggests, may allow us to quiet the self-conscious ego voice that is normally yapping away and open up that hidden semi-conscious kingdom within. As Mary's exercise showed us, by freeing us from busy things and paying attention to breathing, we can make ourselves more available for spiritual living, or what I call being spiritual. There are lots of pearls around us and within us. We just need to dive for them sometimes and see what's inside our shell. Thich Nhat Hanh, in The Miracle of Mindfulness, offers us the following. People usually consider walking on water or in thin air a miracle. But I think the real miracle is not to walk either on water or in thin air, but to walk on earth. Every day we are engaged in a miracle which we don't even recognize. A blue sky, white clouds, green leaves, the black, curious eyes of a child, our own eyes, all is a miracle. Finally, an anonymous person once wrote, "Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but the moments that take your breath away." So friends, on this beautiful summer Sunday, may each of you, on your journeys, make yourself available, truly available, to find inspiration from the depths of your human experience that connects you to yourself and beyond. And may you often have your breaths taken away. May it be so. Now please rise as you are able and willing to join in singing hymn number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth.
For
seated. May each of you notice the air that you breathe, the things that breathe life into you, and the connection to your soul that makes you feel alive. This is the spirit of life. Share this abundance freely so that we can all be kindred spirits in this amazing journey together. May it be so.
Please join me as we extinguish the chalice. We extinguish the light of this chalice, but not the light in our hearts, until we meet again. May the warmth of our community carry you. So be it.